live recording versus multi-track recording. What's the difference? We're going to get into it in this video. My name is Joseph Brooks. I'm an audio engineer and music producer based out of Los Angeles, California. Welcome to Red Velvet Studios, and welcome to my TED Talk, my masterclass, if you will. This will be a little bit more in-depth video, a little bit longer, but by the end of it, you will have learned something, and we're going to get through this thing together. So let's talk about live recording. Now, live recording is a method of recording that goes way back, where a whole band would get together in a big room, in a big space, with lots and lots of microphones, and the whole band would perform the song live and record it. So this was much more popular in the 60s and 70s, up until digital recording came along. And so this method was used in a lot of those old records. So if you like blues, you like classical music, orchestra music, in film scores, this is really popular still today for certain styles of music, even with like jazz. And if you're somebody who wants to do a live record, or you're looking for a live feel on your record, this is a method that's still popular if you have a band. But for artists that are solo artists, it's more common for them to do multi-track recording, which is a little bit more of a modern method, which is much more popular in pop music and R&B, hip hop, EDM, where each element is programmed or recorded one at a time, because there's pros and cons to these different methods. So some cons to doing everything live all at once is that it's live. So if somebody messes up, then you got to start the whole thing over again, because I wasn't wrong, but he was wrong on that note. So now we got to do the whole thing over again, and we all need to perform it all again together. So there's a lot of different things with that. Also, performing it live, having a bunch of different mics in a room introduces other technical issues that could come up. There was a problem with that mic. Oh, there was a problem with that cable. You're introducing so many more variables into the session by doing everything all at once. It's less controlled. It can inspire things musically because it's live and everybody's performing together, but it also can introduce a lot of problems from the engineering side. And it also requires a much bigger space. A lot of recording mix spaces that people have, such as Red Velvet, this is a great mix room. This is a great project studio for working with a producer and 3 or 4 people. But as for recording a large band, this is not the space for that. So in those cases, as most pop records do, you could get together, kind of semi-arrange things and get it all done like in the box, and kind of arrange out how you want the song, get some backing tracks going and program some stuff. Then if you want to go into a big studio and you want that live band feel, then you could just add that on top of that. So maybe we program the drums in the box and maybe a bass line, but then we go record live strings and live horns on top of that. And then we're spending the day concentrating on a couple of groups of instruments versus every single instrument all at the same time. The other difficulty in today's modern age is it's really hard to get everybody to commit their schedule to showing up to the same place at the same time for an entire day. And it really depends on what you're going for. It's possible to make that happen. But one of the other things along with that is, as you're actually hiring human beings to show up at a location and take their time and to play on this record, that increases the budget. So if you have a really big budget for a project, then you can bring in, I got 3 trumpet players, I got a saxophone player, I got, a piano player, I got live strings, I got live cello, I got this and that. If you've got money to pay each and every musician to be there and take their time and perform on the record, then that's awesome. This is going to be a really cool record. But if that's not you, then your options are going to be working in the box. And so that's not necessarily a problem. I have gigantic string libraries from Spitfire and, instruments that were recorded at Abbey Road on my computer. I have drums that were recorded at Abbey Road on my computer. And so I've got Hans Zimmer on my computer. So depending on what you're going for, what you really want, that's how we base this thing. So, multi-track recording is the more modern method, the more cost-effective method that a lot of people will opt for, or kind of a hybrid option. So, and there's also a lot of different options online where, hey, we don't know anybody local to play trumpets on this thing. There's websites out there where you can hire musicians online. There's a dude in Nashville that has a studio, and he's a really great sax player, and you want sax on the record. So we hire him to play sax on the record. We send him the instrumental online. He plays over at his studio. He sends us the file back. We can work together online. Same thing goes for mixing and mastering. People send me files all the time. Those are my clients. They send me a session they recorded in Atlanta, send me those files. I mix them here in LA, and I send them back. So we have a lot of different flexibility and options. It really comes down to what your goal is as the artist. These are all artistic choices. It's not that one's better than the other, one's whatever. It's a matter of preference, really. So, if you're going for a big band style thing, or you're going for a more vintage vibe, then maybe you want to spring for the money to track it all at once and hire all these different people to come play in person. That's going to be a much more expensive project. I would say easily like 4 times more expensive than somebody working on a smaller project where they just work with, it's like one-on-one with a producer versus like forming a band. So, some other issues that can occur when you're recording a live band or recording live drums is issues with bleed in the microphones, where one instrument's sound is getting into the other sound of another microphone. And this can be desirable or it cannot be desirable. Sometimes it's an issue where you can track live drums and there's an awful lot of that hi-hat sound in my snare mic, or there's an awful lot of that hi-hat sound in my toms, and I don't like it. And it's a problem because we recorded it all live. So sometimes that's not the desired effect. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it all works out. It depends on what you're going for. So if you're really working with great engineers in that session, they're testing for that stuff. They're trying to figure that stuff out to get the desirable amount of bleed or no bleed. But generally in the box, that's not really a problem because we're only using like one microphone at a time versus us all in the same room. And we're using, 10, 20 different microphones all at the same time. So your guitar mic has a little bit of the vocal in it. Your guitar mic has a little bit of the drums in it. And is that good? Is that bad? It's part of the sound. It's part of the vibe. So it depends on what you're going for. But even within the box, there are plugins, there are instrument libraries that allow for that. I have a Freddie Mercury piano library that is Freddie Mercury's piano. It's called Mercury, and I have it on my computer. And it's a gigantic piano library, and it was used on Adele on Rolling in the Deep, and that whole record, 21. That piano was the main piano that was used for that record, and I have it. And so it gives you options. It'll have close mic. It'll have a room mic. It'll have a far mic. And I can blend those together because they've recorded it in such a way where it's hyper-sampled, multi-sampled library where it gives me the option, even though we're not recording it live, I can use MIDI to play it in the computer. And then I can also balance it and change it to whatever we're going for. So there's a lot of different options between the two. So the difference between multi-track and live recording, it's really a matter of preference. It's a matter of what you can get done and people's availability and your budget. The larger the budget, the more you want to add more instruments, the more you want to add more people working with you in person, the budget will go up. So if you have money for that kind of a project, then we can definitely do that. Same thing goes for tracking to tape. If you want to track to tape because you want to go for a really 20s thing or 60s thing, or a 50s thing, then we can do that. The age of digital recording wasn't something that really started until the 80s. So depending on what genre and what style you're going for, 80s, 90s, 2000s and up, we're talking more digital and less tape. And also tracking to tape is the price of the tape. So if you want to record analog, that's a whole other discussion for a whole other video, analog versus digital. So it really depends on what you want. So the better that you can communicate to your producer or your engineer what the concept for this is and what are your references? What do you want it to sound like? And what is your budget? Because if your budget allows for, hiring 10 musicians to come in and play for the day, plus the studio, plus the engineer, plus the producer, then let's do that. But if it doesn't, then we're going to be doing stuff in the box. So I've got horns, I've got strings, I've got pianos, I've got bass, I've got whatever you want in the box on my computer, on my hard drives. I've got like 16 terabytes worth of instrument libraries just chilling. And so if you want strings, we don't need to have somebody come over here to play strings. We can, if that's the desired effect. I know people who can do that, but it really depends on what you're going for. So it's all a matter of preference. You have so many options at your disposal. It's a matter of what you want for your project. If you want to ask me what I advise and you have the budget, I'm going to base what we're doing off of what you can afford to do. If you can afford to do something a little bit cooler or a little bit more expressive, then I might bring that up. But if we know that that's not in the cards, then I have another cheaper solution that's also going to be really great. So it really comes down to what you're looking for your project. So multi-track recording versus live band, live recording. And I hope that this video was insightful for you. And, let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos like this, a little bit longer, a little better at length explanation. My name is Joseph Brooks. This is Red Velvet Studios, and thanks for watching.